I could not have been more stunned, shocked, and depressed by the news last night that Demaryius Thomas had passed away at the age of 33. There's so many questions as to why somebody so young would be found dead in his home in the state of Georgia, where he's from. And his 33 years on this planet, my gosh, what a time that he had here, and a difficult upbringing. His father in the military, and so his mother was bringing him up. He spent a lot of time in his grandmother's trailer, and he also saw that something was up in his grandmother's trailer that didn't really add up, and what was happening in that trailer was crack cocaine being cooked and sold. And as an 11-year-old boy, cops break down the door of his home and put his mother in cuffs. And his grandmother was also put in jail. And his mother was offered a plea deal in which she would only get 4 years as opposed to 20 if she would testify against her own mother, Demaryius Thomas's grandmother. And she would not do that. So she went away and did hard time for a very long time. And the story is, if you may not know, Demaryius Thomas would go to see his mother at 3-minute increments because there were other kids, and there's only a certain amount of time that they got to see their mom through the glass. And he grew up angry at his mother for not taking the plea deal against her own mother. I mean, imagine that's the sort of way you're brought up and you're living life. He was playing basketball as a prep sports star, but wound up playing football and went to Georgia Tech, where Calvin Johnson went to school. And he's playing wide receiver, where Calvin Johnson went to school. And when he was at Georgia Tech, this is remarkable. I looked this up. When he was at Georgia Tech, the quarterback, Josh Nesbitt, had 117 more rushing attempts than passing attempts in Demaryius Thomas's final season as a Georgia Tech football player. Nesbitt had averaged only 12 attempts per game. Imagine being a wide receiver, okay? When you're a quarterback, you know going into the game, on average, there's going to be a dozen footballs thrown at either you or your colleagues. That's it. A wide receiver trying to make his way into the NFL to try and make his life a better life and try and make his family's life a better life with the matriarch of the family and his own mom in prison. Nesbitt threw only 162 times in 2009 for 1,701 yards. File that number away. 162 times for 1,701 yards.
Got it.
Demaryius Thomas's numbers that year were 46 catches for 1,154 yards and 8 touchdowns. He averaged, again, on average, he knew going into the game, there would be 12 opportunities for him and the rest of the receiving corps to catch a football. He averaged, under those circumstances, 25.1 yards per catch. 28% of Nesbitt's completions went to number 8, and 68% of his passing yards went to Demaryius Thomas. And that's the way he put himself front and center for NFL scouts and talent evaluators to go and say, hey, I'm here. I know Des Bryant is, but I'm here. And sure enough, the Denver Broncos, with 2 first-round selections, took him 22nd overall in the 2010 NFL Draft. And then 3 picks later, used their second first-round pick on a quarterback named Tim Tebow. And that was all the attention that was being put on the Broncos' first-round draft choice process. Not the kid who did what I just said at Georgia Tech after that upbringing. No. We're talking about Tim Tebow and why Tebow and what are you going to do with Tebow and how you're going to use it. And you also got for Tebow a wide receiver from a running school that runs an option. Like, this is the NFL. Like, what are you thinking? Well, McDaniels had a plan. That was Josh McDaniels' choice. And, he wasn't around very long either. Then John Fox comes in. And sure enough, after all the injuries to Tebow, to the quarterback spot, it's Tebow's turn. Tebow gets his turn. And then comes the date of January 8th, 2012. A playoff game, wild card game in Denver, Colorado. Steelers are in there. Just talked about it with Ryan Clark. First game in playoff history under the new overtime rules that we now know about, that if the first team that scores a touchdown wins, we don't have to worry about multiple possessions in overtime. That was a newfangled thing where a team couldn't just get the ball to start overtime, kick a field goal, and both teams had to touch it. A huge to-do was made about it. What's it going to look like? Well, here comes a playoff game, and the guy who gets the ball first is Tebow, and one pass in to the new overtime rules. One pass, one snap, first snap.
First play.
He finds Demaryius Thomas, who goes 80 yards for the touchdown. First ever touchdown, game-ending walk-off reception in NFL new playoff overtime rules history belongs to Demaryius Thomas, who on the day had over 200 yards receiving. He's only one of 8 to have over 200 yards receiving in postseason history. The guy who's right in front of him on that list is, you guessed it, Calvin Johnson. Peyton Manning comes in. As you know, Elway found, despite Tebow Time's hold on the Broncos organization and Denver's community writ large, felt it unsustainable and brings in a guy named Peyton Manning. His first touchdown pass is a Bronco caught by Demaryius Thomas, who, by all of these accounts, is a better human than a football player. Anybody who's talking about Demaryius Thomas today is talking about his love of people and the sport and leaving people with a smile and always having a smile on his face. His work in the community with kids in need, just like him growing up. I shot a Courtyard commercial with him in 2014 for the 2015 Super Bowl. Super Bowl 49. There he is, right next to me with Eric Decker. There we were for Courtyard by Marriott. And he couldn't have been cooler, nicer, more engaging, talking to people, even though he's kind of shy and reserved. He could not have been more awesome. Decker loved him too. They were tight. Neither of them knowing 1 year later they were going to be Super Bowl champions for Super Bowl 50. 33 and gone. And President Barack Obama commuted the sentence of his mom in 2015 and then his grandmother after that. And then his mom finally in 2016 got to see Demaryius Thomas play a football game for the first time. So our condolences to the rest of Demaryius Thomas's family, taken from us way too soon. Rest in peace, Demaryius Thomas. What a football life. I don't think it could be understated that you go to college and they don't throw you the ball, and he still had numbers like that.
Yeah, 70% of the receiving yards.
Only Rod Smith is above him in passing, in receiving yards and touchdowns on the all-time Broncos receiving list. And only Rod Smith and Hall of Famer Shannon Sharp are above him on receptions. And Rod Smith should be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, I should say. That's going to happen one day. It should be. One of the greatest undrafted players in the history of the game to do what he's done for the Broncos.
He was a beast.
And we all know Shannon's in the Hall.
Yeah, if you haven't read that ESPN piece about Demaryius' life, I'll retweet it right now from our show from a few years ago. It is just incredible. Gets into greater detail of what you kind of explained about his mother and his grandmother and the anger that Demaryius felt towards his family for many, many, many years. Went 5 years without even visiting her in prison because he was so angry and he just couldn't do it before they finally got back up their relationship while he was at Georgia Tech. And then they talked multiple times per week. And
yeah, retweet that. It's written by Eli Saslow. It's an excellent piece.
Yep.
I think it was posted about 5 years ago. It was written about him 5 years ago.
Yep.
He just retired in June. I have no idea how, I guess everyone's going to find out the manner or the reason why, cause.
Yeah, I've seen a few things about epileptic seizures and whatnot that he battled.
33 years old. Man, oh man, oh man. I guess and just the last thing to say is, and I've said it here from this chair before, it's just you gotta, and I fall prey to it so many times, and my daily going about everything. It's just you sometimes get lost in the garbage and the flotsam and jetsam of life that ultimately just doesn't matter. Ultimately just does not matter. It's what you do and how you live and how you love.